Okay, this is the video explaining the UDL. I know it's not perfect, but you have to be patient with me. I'm trying to give you a good view of the UDL so you know exactly what to do. So I'm going to show a blank UDL. I'm going to go through each area and talk about it. And then I'm going to post this video, hopefully along with a sample so you can see what I'm talking about, how to get it done, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so let's get started. So in this first box right here, where it talks about subject area and grade level, I would like for you, I know we did the close read on a grade level of your choice, so I would like the subject area and grade level that you did it on there. Now, these numbers, I want you to try to have a conversation with the teacher that you have to do your read aloud with and see if you can get these numbers filled in by that person. Okay, so if you would ask that teacher how many of each different exceptionalities and alternative settings, etc., they have in their classroom, I think this will be a little bit more applicable. So definitely find that out, send an email to your host teacher, and see what we can do from there. Okay, so you're just going to fill in, typed, not handwritten, typed, these boxes as you would. The one box that I want you to focus on, I'm going to scroll up, is this technology considerations for diverse learners. I apologize for my voice. And I'm on an E here trying to teach, but it's fine. So, what technology will you use to address the needs of your diverse learners? So if I have a physically impaired or a visually impaired, what type of technology can I use to help that student perform better? Okay. I know at Sequoia, they have the built-in mics, and that helps your hearing impaired. That would be something I would put there. Anything or any type of technology that you could provide the students to let them have a better experience, I would like for you to put in the technology area. Okay? Okay. 5 ways in which you would specifically consider these various aspects of diversity in your instruction. Okay, so what and how are you going to adjust or adapt to the diverse learners that you will be dealing with? So let's say, and you already have your close read done, so it's not like I want you to redo your close read. I want to talk about in this section how would you adjust it based on the diverse learners that you have in your read aloud classroom. So I know it's going to be a different grade level. All of that is okay, and I know that your grade level that you have for your close read and your grade level that you have for this may be different. What I'm talking about, the close read in general, what 5 ways will you specifically consider the variations for your project? What are you going to do? Okay, how are you going to diversify or change or add to fit the needs of the students in this read aloud classroom? Okay, I know the grade levels are going to be different. Let me say it one more time. I know the grade levels are going to be different. I'm talking about gifted, learning disabled, those issues, special education, those, what are you going to do to help? Okay. The next section talks about what broad concepts have you studied prior to this learning plan. Now this goes specifically back to your close read. What have you covered in your grade level classroom that you created the close read for? What concepts had to be studied in order for the students to be successful in the close read? So you would say something like, the students, if I did my close read on anything, if I did the close read on seasons, okay? So what all had to be covered in order for them to be successful? Well, I would have to have covered something about seasons. What concepts should you have covered that would help them be successful based on the topic of your choice? This should be pretty specific. So the students would have already been exposed to I would have already covered these various concepts for these students to be successful. Now, if your comprehension questions in your close read were specified, like retail questions, think and search, stuff like that, I would like for you to mention in this concept area in the prior knowledge that you have discussed different types of questions that they will have to comprehend too. Okay? Okay. The next section, what concepts will be presented in this learning plan? So, based on the concepts that you've already covered, and again, this is fictitious, so based on those concepts, why is this close read important, and what are you going to cover? Okay. So be specific on what it is you're going to cover. The close read is about seasons. I am going to cover, let's say you went vocabulary comprehension and sequencing. Let's just say that. Okay, so you're going to talk about those three concepts because it's day 1, day 2, and day 3. Okay, so day 1, concepts. Day 2, concepts. Day 3, concepts. Okay, those concepts and that learning plan should connect to the box on top that talks about what they should know ahead of time so that they're successful. And then this next box, how is this learning plan going to connect to the remainder of the semester? How are we going to build on this close read to continue moving forward through your semester of learning? Okay? So those 3 boxes, although they're small, there should be a lot of information, very detailed, very thorough. Okay? So I apologize. The second box that talks about the learning plan, day 1, day 2, day 3, the first box and the third box cannot have that day 1, day 2, day 3, but it still needs to be pretty thorough, okay? Okay, teaching and learning graphics, visual representations. I would like your close read stuff to be attached to the UDL only because this is part of your artifact, so I want it to be complete. So on that tab, you can just say see appendix, and then your close read will be in the appendixes of your UDL. Okay, what expectations do you have for student behavior and management of the classroom? This is a question that you need to talk about with your host teacher. What are the behavior issues that they have in their classroom? What are the techniques that he or she uses for classroom management? when you're doing, talk to the teacher, email the teacher, see what responses you can get. If you don't get very good responses, I want you to think about, as a future teacher candidate, what are the issues that you expect to deal with when you're trying to teach this close read? What are you expecting to have an issue with? How are you going to manage those issues? So if you're doing a whole class instruction with this close read, what are you going to do to solve any issues that come up? What are your classroom management techniques when it comes to questions and answers, going to the bathroom? If they're loud, what are you going to do to monitor that? Needs to be specific, okay? Needs to be specific. If you cannot get the teacher to respond, it needs to be very thorough on what your future classroom is going to look like. Okay, routines. So here's where you talk about, so expectations, it's like, okay, I expect them to be a little bit loud. So if they get loud, this is what I'm going to do. I expect that I will have to maybe repeat myself. If I have to repeat myself, this is what I'm going to do. If there's a couple behavior issues before the lesson, I will discuss the goal of their behavior for the next 30 to 40 minutes while I go through the lesson. That's their routines. The students know to put one finger up to use the bathroom, 2 fingers up. Well, there's no water fountain, so we don't need a water fountain. So the bathroom, to get something, to sharpen a pencil. Are their supplies going to be there? So what routines in the classroom are they going to have? So for example, when I taught 3rd grade, I always made sure in the middle of the table they had all the supplies they would need for each lesson. So it wasn't like they needed to go back to their cubby or they needed to go to their backpack. Everything was there, okay? So what routines would they have to follow? So maybe when you're instructing the close read, they're in the carpet. How are they going to get to the carpet? What routine? What does that look like? Okay. How do they get back to their seat? So think about those things as you visualize and see yourself teaching this lesson in the future. Okay. Under rationale, why is this important? Why should we do a close read? Why should you do a close read, and why is it important for students to do it? What is your why are you teaching this? And why do we think it's important? Why will they need a skill, and how can you apply this to real life? Them doing a close read, how is that going to help them in the future? Think about the multiple exposures. How is that going to help with future learning? 3 goals that you are going to accomplish with this lesson. So day 1, day 2, day 3. What are your goals for day 1? 3 goals. Day 2, 3 goals. Day 3, 3 goals. And then go back and kind of fill those in. The rest of it is the individual learning plan. Okay, so the standards, it's okay. Learning objectives, the students will be able to do. Remember, objectives have to be measurable. It can't just be the students will be able to read. Okay, well, at what percentage? What are they reading? How are they doing it? I want those objectives to be very, very attainable and measurable. Day 1 objective, day 2 objective, day 3 objective. Okay, so this part of your UDL needs to be divided into day 1, day 2, day 3. I suggest that you put it in different colors. That way you do day 1, you complete day 1 in one color, day 2 in one color, day 3 in one color. Okay, if you want to copy and paste this section and do different ones for day 1, day 2, and 3, that's fine. But each one has to have an individual learning plan. Okay, so you'll have 3 of these, or cut these boxes into 3. I am going to provide you with one that my students did last semester that I really liked, so you'll be able to see that. So you'll fill in this stuff, which to me is very standard. The only one I want to talk about in this first part is the UDL considerations, including exceptional learners. So if in this read aloud classroom you have 4 ESL, what are you going to do for those there? Okay, you're going to talk about in that box how you're going to accommodate here. Okay, that's where you do that. Okay, what accommodations are those students going to get? Okay, so this is where most people lose points. You have to have a solid introduction. It's not just, okay, I'm going to introduce the students to the close read. How are you going to do that? There has to be some type of introduction. Body. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Guided practice. What are they going to do with you? Independent practice. What are they going to do alone? Closure and assessment. Okay, you have to close it. What are you going to do to finish the lesson every day? And then assessment, what are you assessing? Is it formal or informal, and what does it look like? That's this part, the middle part. Let's talk about these on the side. So in these middle boxes, you're going to tell me what you're going to do. In these side boxes, you're going to answer those questions. How will you provide feedback to the students? What are you doing? Okay, how will you guide the students? What are you going to be doing in particular? Okay, as you're teaching, what are you going to be doing? I want those questions answered completely, okay? If in this parent communication box you say that you're going to provide a letter, I want to see what the letter looks like. If you're going to send a newsletter, you're going to send a letter saying, we're going to start this unit on dolphins, and I'm going to be doing a close read activity. I want to see what you would say to those parents. 3 type of technology. I will take technology 3 types, like day 1 technology, day 2 technology, day 3, and you can combine those. Okay? And that's pretty much it. So to me, this is a big part of the UDL, and I'm telling you, be specific. Be specific. Think about how long a language arts block is, how you're going to use it, and how you're going to fill it in. Okay, so on that time frame box, a majority of your time, I don't want to see 40 minutes of you, in your body. It shouldn't be 40 minutes of you reading. I want to see what the kids are going to be doing and how they're going to be successful. Okay, like I said, I want the closed read attached. If there's going to be some type of parent letter sent home, I want to see what that looks like. Make sure you attach it at the end, and I will definitely include a student sample of what the UDL looks like. Okay, good luck. Let me know if you have questions.